Okay, let's dive right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking a genuinely staggering historical text, the Book of Esther. We're going to be looking at this incredible tension between the frantically superficial, highly engineered machinery of the ancient Persian Empire and the quiet, unstoppable reality of unseen Providence. It's an absolutely brilliant study of how true power actually operates.
Now, to really wrap our heads around this, I need you to imagine something for a second. Imagine being pulled from your home by armed guards, loaded onto a cart, and taken across a desert. You haven't committed a crime, right? Instead, you're being drafted into what is essentially the most ruthless reality competition in the ancient world. Young women were pulled from their homes all across the empire. And this wasn't for some luxury spa retreat, no way. This was a high-stakes draft where the prize was a literal crown, and the penalty for losing, absolute, inescapable isolation.
Section 1, the Persian Reality Draft.
Section 2, a system of erasure. You see, this wasn't just a simple casting call by King Xerxes for a new queen. This was a massive, mandatory nationwide mobilization. Once these women were inside the towering doors of the royal harem, they were trapped in a highly funded, state-sponsored re-education program. The text outlines this brutal 12-month preparation process. First, you've got 6 straight months of physical scrubbing and purification using oil of myrrh. That acts as a really harsh astringent, literally scrubbing away the old to make way for the new. Then, that's followed by 6 months of perfumes, cosmetics, and learning rigorous royal etiquette. The empire was actively, systematically stripping away their individual cultural identities. We're talking 12 agonizing months of sensory deprivation from their pasts, completely replaced by a sensory overload of standard royal customs. It was assimilate completely or face ruin. And all of that intense preparation led to a single number: 1. After an entire year of psychological and physical stripping, the audition finally arrived. And every single woman in that harem was given exactly 1 night with the king to secure her entire future. This brilliantly illustrates the systemic cruelty of the empire. To give the women a supposed edge, they were handed a blank check. They could take unlimited accessories, exotic silks, or jewels to manufacture a false sense of control, to really try and dazzle the king. But the cruel reality? If the king wasn't impressed, if he didn't call them by name the very next day, they didn't get to just go home. They were sent to a second harem managed by a eunuch named Shashgaz. This was a terrifying dead end. It meant a state of permanent widowhood and a lifetime of lonely neglect. Literally, a single evening dictated the entire trajectory of their existence. Section 3. The Unseen Protector. So, while the women frantically grasped for every advantage inside those claustrophobic walls, the historical narrative does this kind of cinematic pan outside. We see a lone, helpless figure, Esther's older cousin and adoptive father, Mordecai. As the text tells us, he paced agonizingly in front of the courtyard of the harem every single day for a year just to check on her. Try to visualize that for a second, pacing outside a heavily guarded fortress for 365 days. He was completely unable to break in, couldn't bribe the guards, and was totally unable to alter the dictator's mind. His human ability to actually help her was practically zero. But his constant physical vigilance actually acts as a mirror for a really profound theological reality. Mordecai, pacing day after day, perfectly reflects the ancient Hebrew concept found in Psalm 121. He who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. In an environment literally designed to crush human agency, Mordecai represents the unceasing, sleepless protection of an unseen watcher.
Section 4, the Power of Restraint.
Following that thread back inside the palace walls, the 12 months are up and Esther's turn to face the king finally arrives. But look at her qualifications. They are effectively non-existent. She was orphaned at a young age, a Jewish exile from a destroyed kingdom, a marginalized minority in a foreign superpower, possessing absolutely zero political capital, wealth, or safety net. As the ultimate underdog thrown into this gladiator arena, every human survival instinct should have been screaming at her to grab every single diamond and silk available to manufacture some kind of advantage. Yet she doesn't. And here is the anomaly. Esther yields control. She asks only for exactly what Hegai, the king's eunuch, advised her to take. So, the crucial point here is her unexplainable radical restraint. While everyone else was frantically trying to force an outcome, Esther flat out refused to play the empire's frantic game. She submitted to the advice of the insider, Hegai, and instead of self-promotion, she trusted that what she had, and more importantly, who was with her, was already enough.
Section 5. The Invisible Fingerprints.
Her unconventional approach completely shatters the expectations of the Persian court, yielding an unprecedented result. The text says that everyone who saw her liked her, but it uses highly specific language here. It says she was covered in chen. Now, this isn't just saying she looked pretty in the right dress. This mechanically translates to a sudden, almost unmerited grace or aesthetic appeal that makes a person completely irresistible. It's like a magnetic favor that simply descends upon someone. And the ultimate paradox happens when she finally meets King Xerxes. This notoriously fickle, violent king didn't just feel some fleeting lust for this marginalized woman. He felt hesed. This translates to loyal love, steadfastness, or profound covenantal devotion. From a pagan dictator who normally discards people after one night, he actually places the royal crown on her head and replaces the former queen. It is a total systemic upheaval, all caused by the quiet arrival of one exiled orphan. But here is the elephant in the room that makes this text so famous. The Book of Esther famously never actually mentions God's name, not even once. God is completely absent from the page. But this is a brilliant literary device. By omitting the name of God, the author forces the reader to look for his invisible fingerprints. The original readers would have immediately recognized linguistic markers like Shen and Hesed as unmistakable divine orchestration. And this brilliantly illustrates the text's broader historical thesis. Think about Joseph, Daniel, Moses, or David. They all started as completely unequipped outsiders, exiles, or forgotten shepherds. Well, Esther fits that exact same historical pattern. Divine plans actively bypass the qualified insiders who rely on polished resumes and systemic power. Instead, God strategically places unequipped outsiders into positions of supreme influence. When the unequipped outsider wins, they have zero institutional power to lean on, which makes it undeniable evidence of a higher power at work. Section 6. Positioned, not stuck. Which leads us to the most vital takeaway of this entire narrative. Esther wasn't crowned just so she could wear nice jewelry and escape the second harem. She was strategically positioned, not stuck. She was placed there to save an entire population from state-sponsored annihilation shortly after. This ancient history actually breaks the fourth wall right into our modern day. The New Testament builds directly on this concept. As 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 confirms, ordinary believers are a chosen people, a royal priesthood. This asserts that you are strategically placed by divine appointment to bring light into dark places. And honestly, this reframes everything. If you look around your workplace, your university, or your community, and you feel entirely unqualified while others ruthlessly climb the ladder and curate their images, remember this. Your perceived lack of resources is not a disqualification. God has way more faith in His placement of you than you have in yourself. You are not stuck. You are positioned.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really provocative challenge to ponder this week. We live in a culture constantly screaming at us to hustle, to self-promote, and to hoard every possible advantage. But looking at the quiet courage of Esther, ask yourself, what would actually change if you stopped frantically grasping for control and simply trusted the invisible hand that has already positioned you exactly where you need to be? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Keep learning and keep looking for those invisible fingerprints.